Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's me, Evil Editing Ivan in the future. So, I made a little bit of a mistake while recording this episode that I realized a lot later that in the first 34 minutes, I was using the wrong microphone and not the ones that were on the table. So, the audio is hearable, but it sounds really bad. So, I'll just give a quick little rundown and introduction to what's going on. So, that's me, Ivan Bascos on the left, and welcome to the talking stage. Today, on this day, I was joined with Christopher Rensis, who is the man in the middle. Very handsome young man, very many funny interactions with him. Appreciate him being interested. And on the right is Gavin Wang. Very mature man, very funny man. Had many mature conversations, and I appreciated him being onto here. And Dr. Elliot Kim will be joining us later. He's not actually a doctor, he's just my friend that I made in school, but a very interesting man himself. Basically, what we were talking about was who would win, bear versus gorilla, the classic question. And one of the ones that is harder and is relevant to the rest of this podcast is why do people like struggle to admit that they're wrong? And the general consensus is that it actually goes back to like even archaic caveman times where people want to see as the most dominant, reputable person. And so admitting that you're wrong makes you look less reputable at those times. However, in modern day, it's actually quite the opposite. Very fun podcast. So please stick around, wait for the clips, and thank you for watching the talking stage. On to the audio and video. The question was, are you like, would you rather go for somebody who is like makes a lot of mistakes, like poor with their emotions, poor with communication, poor texting, whatever, and or would you rather go for somebody who's not willing to change their perspective, but they do a lot right, like
Or
they have
would you
good
think
communication?
they've been in a lot of
Yeah,
relationships, but like they're set like, oh, I have a lot of
yeah.
experience, like don't tell me how to do
Like
things.
they have a lot of experience and they have a lot of X's and breakups because they're so stubborn, but they do have a lot of experience.
That's the thing. I feel like if you have a lot of exes, that's kind of just an indicator that you as a person, you have a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Being stubborn is really bad for a relationship. And the reason for that is, personally, the reason why I would choose someone who's not experienced but is willing to change is because not being experienced is not a flaw of you as a person. Um, what is a flaw though is being stubborn, not willing to change, not willing to grow as a person. I think we're taught a lot of that in school to have that growth mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and so having that absent in a relationship is really detrimental because I think in a relationship it's not about who's more experienced, who can make the experience fun.
Mm-hmm.
A relationship is about love. Love is about love, and it's a fundamental like it's a bond that cannot be broken apart simply because of you know lack of experience.
Mm-hmm.
But being stubborn
Mm-hmm.
really hurts the relationship.
Yeah.
It hurts the people in it.
Yeah. When I think of this question, actually, I just made this question right now, but when I think of this question, is that like, I think if you go for person A who is like very inexperienced, makes a lot of mistakes, but is willing to learn, I feel like it's much more difficult in the beginning, right? But are you willing to stick it through? Is it worth it? Okay, I'll expand more. But the beginning is very hard for this relationship, right? Because you have to first establish like how you communicate, how you process emotions, how you show affection, whatever. But for the person who's like very stubborn, they do a lot right, but there's like these little sprinkles of like, I don't like how this person does that, and they're just not willing to change. So it's like kind of like poking at the back of your head. And then the thing is though, with person A, person B, you already know that like everything is kind of like established. Like you know what you're getting into. Like this person's being clear and showing like their perspective. So you know what you're getting into. Person A, because they have like poor communication and like poor way of like showing how they feel, you don't know what you're getting into. Therefore, is it worth it? Because person B, you can kind of tell if it's worth it or not. But person A, you don't. So which one would you go for, knowing that now?
I,
If you did, you guys understand? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, Thinking about it, I would probably be wary around person A because everyone has traits about them that aren't good. So like, do I
Mhm.
really want to bring these traits that I might not realize aren't good into this, how this person behaves and how it would affect them? Um, but then again, I don't want to be with person B who seems insufferable.
Well, they're not insufferable. It's just like that one part is like poking the back of your head. It's like,
But then, like, how long would you be able to put up with that? Like, it would like eventually just build on top of each other till you can't take it anymore. But
Right.
for person A, there's a lot of room for growth,
a lot you could work through.
a lot you could work through.
Yeah.
This really made me think of a quote, and I pulled it up right here on my phone right now. But with person A, I just want to know it's a relationship. Of course, I'm very idealistic of a guy. When it comes to anything, I'm very idealistic. It's very much part of my personality, the way I function, and a lot of that.
Would you say that's a good quality? We'll expand on that later.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But anyways, 1 Corinthians 13:4. You know what book this is from. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. So, going by that in a relationship, of course, okay, as a very idealistic person, I think about love a lot, right? And a lot of times when you're in a relationship, and your person A, yes, they may not have a lot of experience, but the relationship is built on trust, loyalty, and most of all, love. And so, if perhaps both of you are experienced, perhaps one of them is inexperienced, but if you're able to persevere through that and carry each other with kindness, forgiveness, and love, it's possible to make this relationship a permanent thing. Whereas with person B, the quality of being extremely stubborn means that where she is, she will stay. She will never move up or down. She's as good as she is and will never improve.
And
so
you don't believe that's what love is.
Right. If you're stubborn, you are, in my opinion, you're hurting the love. You're hurting the trust, the loyalty in the relationship that is between both of you. And love never fails. If it fails, perhaps it was never love.
But the thing is, like, as I mentioned, you don't know what you're getting yourself into with person A. So you don't know if that trust is there because they're poor at communicating it. You're just like, you're feeling through it, but you don't know exactly what's going on. For you, Gavin, you said that you're idealistic when it comes to relationships. Do you think that's a good quality?
Is ideal? Wait, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like idealistic, like just having high standards. Is that what it's like you're saying?
In some cases, I feel like being idealistic is kind of having that idea of like what you think the perfect relationship should be, or the perfect scenario should be, or what it. A lot of times it's unrealistic, and
Like
so
in a perfect world, then.
in a perfect world, or
Yeah.
in an ideal. That's why they say in an idealistic world. Idealistically means that like it's what we would want.
What do you think, Chris? Do you think that's a good quality to be very idealistic in terms of relationships?
I think see. It's really hard for me to go into extremes for anything, but like being idealistic is good because then. Oh, is that Dr. Elliot?
Yo!
All right. Nah, but yeah, I've known this guy since elementary school. So I'm an OG.
Yeah, just so you know, Elliot, you have to be pretty close to the mic to talk, which is why we're saying you have to like move it back.
That's why we're like practically kissing the mic.
Yeah.
Close.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll turn up your volume a little so you don't have to be super
Please
close.
say
But yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, Mr. Elliot, welcome to the talking stage. So this is Mr. Elliot Kim. Just for a little introduction, nothing too crazy, but I met Elliot. Well, like we met like this year, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And it was just from like us playing like card games together with like some mutual friends. Elliot was the game master. He taught me how to play a couple card games, and through like a mutual birthday party with one of our friends, we had like a deeper conversation similar to what we do on the talking stage. I appreciate his time, appreciate his output, and that's why he's here. So, hyping to Mr. Elliot Kim, and we were talking about, would you rather take person A, who does a lot wrong? It's like let's say it's her first relationship, and they're like poor communicating, poor at showing affection, and poor at like processing their own emotions, right? Or would you rather take person B, who has been in a lot of relationships, has plenty of exes, which is a little strange because they're very stubborn. Like they do a lot right, but there's like certain things that like bother you that they're just not willing to change.
Yeah, and then I also mentioned, I actually pulled up a Bible verse to talk about my ideal of like love, but love is patient. It's kind. It's not something that's very like, it's not self-serving essentially.
People are impatient. When they get a relationship, if you're not doing the right things, it's gonna end pretty quickly. I think putting it into terms like how we are right now is like good for looking at relationships how they probably should be.
But in reality, like a lot of people would just leave.
I'm considered more like patient in a relationship. That's why I always say like I'm willing to go through a lot of crap to get to the idealistic like situation. And then Ivan started asking me about like if idealism is good in a relationship.
Okay,
That
so
was the most-
there's a lot we're going to expand upon, but first I want to ask Elliot's perspective of this question. Like, would you rather person A or person B?
Personally, I'd probably go with person A. The way I see it, they have many exes, so
They have a set perspective of relationships going into it.
yeah, exactly. I think someone who would choose person B, maybe they might think it's like kind of like a commodity in a way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like someone who would choose person A, I think they'd probably think relationships are more like, well, yeah, more significant. They're more like something that you can you have to keep, or like something you have to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'd go with person A because if they can change, then that means, well, then I can maintain the relationship.
Mhm.
But with person B, if there's like things that they can't change, I feel like maintaining the relationship would be a lot harder,
Mhm.
just in my opinion.
So basically, like I'd say, bottom line for person A, you can only really go up from here. If it fails, I mean, it's oh well, right?
It's part of the process.
Right.
Yeah.
But person B, like you're stuck there. Like if you can get better than person B at some point with person A, like you'll be stuck with person B. Like you get what you get, and if it's not what you wanted, damn, you know. But with person A, you can get better, you know.
Well, I think that also has to go into like what you were saying about idealistic. Like you're saying you get what you get, but do you really? Because you kind of make that decision to be with a person or not. But then I think we were gonna go into the idealism is actually like a good trait to have, because I think in having an idea of like the perfect girl, that's good to have, because then you know what you want. Like it's like a form of self-respect almost, because you're respecting your own needs and your wants, but it's like not good to get too picky.
Yeah. So you're saying like, don't settle, but don't do anything. Like just don't ignore the
Yeah.
red flags.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep it short. But like yeah, so I'd say with idealism, there's like it's like it's good to know what you want. But for me, like it, you know, when you're an idealistic individual, you have to kind of manage that, because if you're a hopeless romantic, not exactly beneficial, because by being a hopeless romantic, by having like too rigid of an idea of what love should be, makes it really, really difficult to have a genuine relationship, because sometimes a relationship is built off those imperfections. That's actually what I'd say, those imperfections, those experiences, that's what really strengthens the bond. So if you have an extremely idealistic perspective of relationship, it makes things really complicated.
So you're too stuck on the idea of her, not her. That's where that question comes from. That's the point.
You were saying like how far would you be willing to go for like that relationship, that like perfect relationship? Like how many red flags would you put off until like you realize that, hey, maybe this won't work out? Like having an idea of what you want and like going with that, of course, is good, but like how far are you willing to go until, like if you're with this girl who you think is like, oh wow, she's super pretty, like she's doing everything right, but then you start noticing like these little red flags popping up here and there, but you're like, oh, like it's okay, the perfect relationship, like how many red flags, how far would you be like willing to put up?
Do you think it would be more beneficial to be realistic of what you want in a person? In other words, would you like, one other way to put this is like, how far would you sacrifice, which is the point that we were making, of like how much would you ignore in terms of red flags and stuff like that. What do you think, Mr. Elliott?
I think in any situation, like thinking realistically is probably the best choice, but or the best option. But could you expand by like idealism?
Let's say my perfect girl is like somebody who is like shorter than me, funny, plays video games, watches anime, I don't know, anything like that. But this person, okay, let's say that's your type, right? And
Sure.
you find this person and you find her attractive and you feel like she likes you back, but she has a ton of exes. She cheated on her last boyfriend. She has a guy best friend. Like, would you do it? Because these four qualities is your ideal type, but she also has these other qualities that are not your ideal type.
In my opinion, no like relationship is perfect. You know, honestly, going for idealism is probably not really just not a good option in general. Like, just because like there are of course like some things that like of course everyone has preferences. Everyone
Mhm.
has their own beliefs and opinions, but I feel like was it if you try and go for like only what you want or like things that you see are right, then like you might not change or adapt to the relationship, which is a necessity, you know.
Mhm.
So
It's
yeah,
kind of like you want too much to the point where you become stubborn yourself.
exactly.
You
Hey.
are person B.
Damn, you like person A so much you become person B?
Oh,
Oh,
Oh damn,
That's
we
deep.
getting
Clip it, clip it, clip it,
clip it, clip that, clip
clip it.
Chat, we just had a deep moment right there, boys.
This is why we're in the talking stage.
Hey.
Yeah. So I'm gonna like move away a little from relationships. To go back to analogy before Mr. Elliott came in, you use like analogy of Kobe Bryant, right?
Right.
So person A is a person who makes a lot of mistakes, right? Like they don't know how to communicate, whatever. Kobe Bryant is like, as Gavin mentioned, like missed the most amount of shots. Kobe Bryant is known for being selfish, right? Like he doesn't pass often. He shoots that much because he doesn't want to pass, right? To connect that to person A, do you think it's selfish of a person to like who is inexperienced to go after somebody who is much more experienced and therefore learn?
these questions are really hard for me because they're so like set in black and white. The question initially was like, would you go for a person who's like this or like that? It's hard to say one way or another. Sure, it might be selfish if that's what the other person wants, like just because they don't want to have to be doing any of the work. But then like if you're going for the person, then it's like you must see something in them that you would value as a as a partner.
That it would be worth it too.
Then it would be worth it. So I think like it just depends on the situation.
It depends on the context.
If we really think about it, having like an experienced and not experienced person in a relationship, compared to other like configurations, I feel like it's good in a sense that the person who's not experienced is willing to learn. So she does some of the work, he or she, they do some of the work, and then the person who's experienced also does some of the work because they're trying to teach them, right? We're trying to go through it with them, right? But if you have two people who are unexperienced, you have two people kind of groping in the dark and trying to figure it out. And sometimes that ends disastrously. Not saying that it always ends disastrously. Sometimes the strongest bonds are built through difficulty. I wouldn't say it's selfish. I feel like it's kind of like it takes work from both sides of the bridge in order to have that relationship stay stable.
I think it kind of depends on like the motive, you know, like kind of
That's
like
a good point.
I don't know, cause like if they wanna have a relationship with this person, like trying to use them obviously is one, like using them only for like solely gaining experience, but like most of the time that's not gonna be the case, you know. Like it's gonna be like they probably like if someone wants to like build a relationship with someone that's experienced, it's probably gonna be because like they like them, you know.
Yeah, it's not because they're experienced. It's because there's valuable traits about them that they like.
Exactly.
And yeah, and in a relationship, at the end of the day, it's because, of course, again, I keep mentioning it, but I'm very idealistic about these things. But at the end of the day, I feel like real love isn't based on experience. It's it's based on.
Really?
I
You-
mean,
you don't think
it's not entirely. I don't think it's entirely based on experience. Um, for me at least,
Maybe it's
the
the
bond
friends
you
you made
have.
along the way.
Hey, maybe it's the friends we made along the way. It's the bond you have. It's the loyalty. It's the trust. At the end of the day, it's the love that you have for each other that I think that will get you through the most difficult parts of a relationship. And realistically speaking, a relationship will be really hard. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hit hard. But if you're willing to stay loyal, stay loving, stay there, be there for them, and of course them reciprocating that to you as well, no matter what. That's when a relationship truly develops into even death can't do you part at that point, right? And so although experience is good, experience is great obviously in a relationship, but sometimes it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the inexperience that will present the greatest challenge and the greatest result.
And
afterward.
build the greatest relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think we might have cooked something right up there.
I think so too.
Alrighty. We all good in this question? This is a pretty tough question. I kind of feel bad for Dr. Elliot because he's jumped into it.
Yeah, I
It's all
know,
good,
bro.
it's all
We
good.
threw
Okay.
we threw him immediately
Bro
into
was
the
expecting orange juice or apple juice.
and bro
like-
got
No, we're the talking stage. We're not
we
bitching.
talked the talk.
Yeah, it's time to talk. You want to do an easy question or like a funny question,
We
or
could do like I like all questions.
all right? I like you. Anyways,
Whoa! All right, we got one relationship
I've-
cooking up
I've-
right here,
I've
guys.
noticed, we'll go for a fairly difficult question. So this was asked by my friend on episode 1. So my girlfriend asked me this question. Well, my girlfriend's family asked me this question yesterday. She said, let's say that we're like 28 and we're like married, right? So we're thinking about children, but turns out you're infertile, like you're sterile. Like it just doesn't work, right? So would you rather get a sperm donation from your brother, a stranger, or a distant relative to your wife?
The question that was asked:
Uh-huh.
are you infertile or is she infertile?
You are infertile.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause if she's infertile, then you're not having any kids.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say you get to choose the relative who you get the genes from or the sperm donation from.
Okay, so then like this is like taking like adoption out of the
Yeah.
equation.
Yeah.
Then what's the equation? I mean, a question.
What's the
Then
equation?
what's the question?
So would you rather have your wife inseminated by your brother? Do you have a brother?
No.
Let's say you had a brother. So your brother, a distant relative, or a stranger. But the stranger, it's not like they have like a
Age.
genetic deficiency. It's like a functioning human. Like they wouldn't have Down syndrome or something, right? For the sake of the point.
Yeah, not a stranger. I don't like. I would want them to share relatively the same genes as me, if that makes sense. Because like, I'm raising this child as, and also if you have a brother, that means you share 50% of your DNA with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. First things first, it's gonna be really difficult between me and my brother after a donation like that. I don't think it's gonna be really easy to see each other in the same light again. You know, you're basically raising his kid.
Yeah.
It's and since your guys are so close, it's hard to try to have that. You know, I feel it might even hurt the connection. You know, who knows? So that's off the list. Strangers, I've got no clue what you've got in your DNA. I don't know who you are. For me, that's just an instant no. Like
Uh-huh.
a total stranger has nothing to do with this.
Uh-huh.
I think that's just, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Mm-hmm.
Distant relative, I mean, it's close enough that like you're comfortable with because you know at least who it is they're getting the sperm from.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do you not know your brother?
you know your brother, but the difficult part is that it's hard to see your brother, someone who's really close in
Yeah.
the same light after.
Or you just kill your brother, like Chris said.
Distant relative, you don't have to kill him, guys, because you won't see him as much,
Yeah.
right? As long as they're not like, a whole generation above you. That's kind of
Yeah.
awkward then,
That would be
But
strange.
like a cousin, I can sit with that.
Yeah.
But a brother doesn't quite sit right with me. Neither does like stranger.
Yeah. What do you think, Dr. Elliot?
I think
It's good that
personally,
his name's Doctor.
if adoption is out of the question, then a distant relative, like you said, just because it would be really weird to look at my brother in the same light after that. Just because, like, you know, it's like you have a kid and it's from your brother, so like,
Yeah, but like also I have a sister, so
Uh-huh.
like just thinking about that makes it really really gross for me.
That being said, party people, that's going to be a wrap for this episode of The Talking Stage. My name is Ivan Bascos. Today I'm joined with...
Christopher Rensus.
Gavin Wang.
Elliot Kim.
And that is a wrap. Thank you, Dr. Elliot, for letting us come to your house.
Wait, what?
Wait.
Wait, this is
Put
his
on
house?
the headphones. Volume max.
That was fun.